Welcome to the Wizards of Ecom, your no-fluff playbook for online success. Each episode is fully packed with actionable tactics you can implement in your business right now. Take your life to a higher level and excel in your online success. It's time to work on you and your business. Let's do this.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Wizards of Ecom. This is your host Mimi, and today I am joined by none other than Marc Furmanski. He's also a very, maybe in our wizard communities, way more known than here. So I'm going to let him present himself. He's a co-wizard and he's been for a very long time in the ecom space. So Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. So a little intro on myself.
Yes,
I've been selling online since 1999. And I don't just say it because it rhymes. I started on eBay, selling books throughout college. I used to sell other items throughout college. I was the go-to guy when my roommates or my friends needed to either sell the books that the university was only buying back for a fraction of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I was putting them online, getting more money in other states. After that, I graduated college. I went into a full-time job, and I was pretty much locked into that for about 13 years. I started doing some e-com outside of that after hours. But one thing I noticed, as many of you have, or as many of you can probably figure, until it's full-time, until you have to do it, you're never going to do it full-time. You're never going to do it right. You're never going to do it to the max. So about 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago now, actually, I had a pretty big falling out with the company I'd been working with for 13 years. Long story short, I was looking to invest into the business. They weren't ready for that. So I said, you know what? I feel the amount of energy that I put into this business could be much better if I was putting it into my own business. So just from 1 week to the next, I was out of a full-time job and started hustling. Started initially working for a couple of companies, helping them like the in-house consultant. I've never really liked the term consultant. I'm more of a hands-on. I don't like the idea of just coming in on a Wednesday, having a conversation, telling you, hey, have your team do this, do that, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yep.
So I right away, I would sit down and, hey, Noemi, this is what I see for your business. What do you think? To the computer next to yours. And I just started implementing. I used to always joke, I'm not a consultant, I'm an implementer.
Did you trademark that, or can I?
Sorry, it's trademarked. It's in the works.
Oh, okay. Go on. Sorry for cutting you off.
No. So that was basically that. And at the same time, a trip to China was coming about, and I was semi-involved with the Wizards. I knew Carlos was somewhat involved, and kind of, we went on that trip, and that's where I really formed a bond with a lot of the group now. A lot of the members that many listeners know, and Emmy, Gabe, Raul, Carlos, and a handful of others. Started 2 private labels at that same time, and I've done a lot of wholesale. What started me while I was full-time, I was also doing a lot of arbitrage, but I slowly moved away from arbitrage.
Got it.
So that's a little bit about me. I'm a full-time Amazoner. I'm no expert in any specific field. To be an Amazon seller, you have to be pretty broad. And so that's a little of me.
And thank you so much for sharing a little of you. I think that was the most important thing that you shared, actually. And today's topic is going to be about what are the expectations of new sellers coming to the market, especially as you were mentioning, like you're being a full-time Amazon seller. Like, I think this is a made-up word, Amazon seller, first off, because it's like, okay, they didn't found, okay, I'm selling on Amazon. Amazon seller is like a better hashtag, let's put it that way. But first off, why I wanted to have you on the show, and also I really appreciate that you also gave a background, is most of the time what I feel is happening, people are just maybe out of desperation, maybe out of really trying out something new, maybe wanting their own business, they are trying out Amazon and selling on Amazon and FBA and how it's working, And most of the time what I see it's happening, they're taking courses yours truly, this is the same way how I started, right? I took some courses. I didn't really understood what it takes to be an Amazon seller, but I dabbled with it. And then I become as well, like full-time seller as you are now, And what I've seen, or what I notice most of the time, it really takes a mindset for someone to be able to sell on this platform, or like e-com in general, because as you were saying, okay, if everything depends on you, as you were saying, hey, it's not I'm doing only this part. I'm not only a consultant. I'm not only PPC. I'm everywhere. I had to be everywhere and understand everything. So that was a mouthful. Now I'm going to ask questions. That was the main reason I wanted to have you on, right? And first off, like, what does it mean to be an Amazon seller, basically?
So, I mean, the term for me, Amazon seller, is really just the focus on Amazon. Now, I'll take a couple of steps back, right, into kind of what a couple of points that you touched on. So first and foremost, you have to have a plan. You have to have a goal in mind. Without a goal, without a plan, you're never gonna be able to move. And that's in life in general, right? You have to have a goal, a reasonable goal, to say, I want to be a multimillionaire and have a mansion and have a Ferrari. I mean, okay, those are okay dreams, and you can have your board and have those pictures on there and strive towards that, but you have to have realistic day-to-day goals. Now, aside from that, you have to be very dedicated. You have to see, I was an employee for so long, and I was a really good employee, right? I wasn't the kind of person who was checking out at 4 o'clock and acting like I was working till 5. I saw an example of it yesterday. I was at the gym and it was pouring rain, torrential, just horrible rain. And a delivery truck pulls up. It happened to be an Amazon delivery truck. And the guy gets out in the soaking wet, in the pouring rain, and delivers the packages. And I thought to myself, I'm like, when you go that far for somebody else's business, that energy in your own could reward you 3 times more. And so when you realize that you are a better employee than anybody else, or when you are maximizing yourself as an employee, being the best for somebody else, that's when you can really take it in-house and be the best for yourself and for your family and for your goals. So those two are very important things. Now, you always want to have a goal, right? There's some people who just want some additional income, and they don't want to leave their 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever it may be. It's very comfortable to have a full-time job. You have a paycheck every 15 days, or however your pay's set up, or you have an hourly job. You have security. You don't have much to worry about. This real world of working for yourself, and it doesn't Amazon or anything else, you have to be grinding day in, day out. This notion that a lot of people have that, oh, I can put in a couple of hours a week and I'll just lay on the beach. It doesn't exist. I'll be the first to tell you. Now, again, if you're investing in 1,000 different things and Amazon's just a play for you, okay, fine. Maybe you can make it work. And it's very important for anybody listening to this, anybody starting out. You strike out more than you hit home runs, but those home runs feel really good and they reward you pretty well. And that's the most important way of learning on Amazon, or really in e-commerce these days.
I love that. And I also love that it's exactly what you were saying. Hey, if I put this passion into whatever I'm doing for someone else, why not do that the same thing for me, for myself? I think also there it's coming up that, okay, now you have to figure out everything, because there you're maybe brilliant, super proficient, because you already know clearly what to do. But here you have to figure out everything. You have to figure out your goals. You have to figure out your business model. You have to figure out, okay, is this investment really worth it right now, right at this moment? Which one to choose, So I think that also, as you were saying, you're coming from a very, very comfortable place, because honestly, like, a paycheck is the most comfortable place, like anytime I can go anywhere, anyone can hire me because I know my stuff and I'm passionate about, but in the same time here, I think the only, just to add there, just a bit from my perspective, would be only thing that it differentiated me between the mindset of a worker and the mindset of working in my own business and on my own business would be, you don't have budget limitation. You can make as much salary as you put into your mind. It's just, yes, of course, you need money to make money, but it there somehow you're limited. This is the amount that I can get. Here it's like there's not such a limitation, or the limitation is way easier to overcome. How do you see that?
I agree. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I agree with you. A lot of people, you see 7-figure seller, 7-figure sellers. To make 7 figures, or to sell, better yet, 7 figures, you don't need 7 figures. And that's something that people, you need the very least of 6 figures, right? To start making 7. So if you look at that all the way down, it's really hard work, dedication, smart moves, and it all comes within. And if you were putting that in and doing that for somebody else, it's a lot easier to be able to kind of focus that and train yourself to be disciplined for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Discipline for yourself. I love that. That's something. Today's quote is going to be about discipline for yourself. That's great. All right. So I think the next question would be like, what are the top 3 common mistakes newbies make whenever they are start selling on Amazon?
So I think one I see too often. I think people try to be experts in everything they want to launch. So it's like they want to do PPC, and right away they want to take 7 courses, ask 20 people how to run the best PPC. That's not how this works. Run a campaign, right? Run the basic campaign, lose a little bit of money, make a little bit of money, evaluate your reports, and improve. That's really all this is. There's no race to the finish line. There is no finish line. And I think we have to learn from the objectives that are taken, from what we're doing day in, day out. I think that just grows you as an individual. I speak a lot in our chat, and I speak a lot in a lot of chats, and it's all from personal experience. I'm no guru. I am no expert. I've just lived and learned. A lot of people tell me, like, why do you can bend the rule here, you can bend the rule there. I had my account suspended for 2 months. When you're waking up every morning, crossed fingers, I have 3 kids, a mortgage, and a wife. Okay, nothing inexpensive. And when that happened, I had no other income. And to wake up every morning hoping that the account is turned over, hoping that the account is reactivated, submitting another POA, it opens your eyes. And I don't necessarily mean or suggest that everybody needs to go through a suspension. Mm-hmm. But you want to, it's like a quote I once heard, like, smart people learn from their mistakes. Very smart people learn from other people's mistakes, right? So like, here I am, I'm completely open and transparent. I was able to get my account back. It wasn't anything wrong we had done. It was one of those glitches in Amazon that, we just had to keep fighting. And every day it felt like there was no turning around, like I should give up. And every morning it was like, no, I can't. I would see my kids walking out of the house and I'd be like, okay, I got to put this, I got to get my stuff together and really, today's another day and keep moving forward. So I would say that's usually maybe even the one and two of the main issues I see with a lot of people. They want to be experts in every single aspect of the business, and Amazon changes every single day. So the second you've mastered today's PPC, tomorrow it's going to be different. So the more you understand the concept of PPC and the concepts that exist within Amazon, the better and the longer life you will have on the platform.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that you said that. That you just described me like a lot. Like I've been like for the past 2 years, but I am very much into passionate about things, and once that you're passionate, you want to know everything, And here, for example, also it was like a good also alarm, like, hey, wake up, red flag, what are you doing, And I think also like most people are not even realizing that. And I also think that, by the way, the big smile on my face, like previously when you were saying that very smart people are learning from someone else's mistakes, is I was smiling because that's the exact topic that is going to be released before this podcast airs. So the podcast with me and you, it's like funny. It's like, yes, okay. So I'm not talking, look, so Marc said it without knowing about it. So please take a note,
Yeah. And look, number 3, if we were going to throw in a third one, is people don't put a value to their time.
Yeah.
time is very, very valuable, and people only think the cost of the product is the only value that they're putting into their business, or financial, like actual money is the only thing of value. And a really good friend of mine woke me up to that. He was like, look, you like doing a lot of things that really you're wasting a lot of time / money on. And that's, where you start to delegate, but that comes down, later down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And I really much appreciate that you said that. That's also, yet again, it's true. It's really true, like that. You're not really understanding your time, because first off, I think also it's coming down, okay, I am not an expert, so it's natural that I have to learn about things, when it's not natural to learn. It's natural to learn about things, but just only as much, you don't have to become an expert. And whenever you're passionate, I think also this was like my experience, as a newbie seller, when I wanted to learn so much and I was so passionate about things. And also now when I see that you were talking about delegation, we're trying to delegate things and hiring the first like VA, the second and third and so on, that's when you realize, hey, I don't have any more 24 hours of my life. I have 48, I have 72, I have so on. That's how long my life just became right now, And yeah, as you were saying about the delegation as well, I'm thinking, okay, Carlos, like 250 people or so on, like those are all working for them. He has a very long life, and that's not the way how people are understanding it. So I love that you pointed that out, because most of the time people are not even thinking of that, So yeah, definitely, that's great advice. I think like the next one would be like, how do you see, because you've been for a long time on the Amazon platform, how do you see people are adapting to the platform, or what does it take to adapt to the platform, in this case Amazon, but in like to any e-com platform in general?
I mean, they're only getting stronger and bigger. With that, it's a lot more competitive every day. I think there's a lot of people that'll listen to this podcast, will have a great idea in their mind, will probably know how to execute or how to start, but they never will.
Yeah.
And one of the things I feel is that the pool is getting bigger, which we'll call Amazon the pool, and the deck is getting smaller. So the more people are just hanging out on the deck, watching everybody else jump into the pool, there might get a point where there's no more deck and they fall into the pool. And so now they're just making mistakes left and right because they never properly executed, or they never were able to take advantage of the advice or the suggestions others made. Or they might just go back inside and say, you know what, that was never for me, when they could have really made something of it had they just jumped in the water. A lot of people, again, it's kind of hand in hand. People want to, for me, you want to be smart about something. You want to do something the best you can. And then you can always cut back. Then you can always improve. Then you can always, it's kind of like PPC, right? You usually start with an automatic, a shotgun approach, so you're still taking a shot at it, but it's scattered, you're going to hit different things. Then you start to scale back and you actually get to kind of tighten up your ship, and you go towards a manual. So I think that kind of should speak for what and how people act on Amazon and on any platform, especially when they're working for themselves. Try your best at it. Don't overthink it, because you overthink it and it's a year later. I've gone to several events where I'll sit at a random table. I'm just talking to everybody and they're like, oh, this is my sixth, this is the sixth event I attend. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. So what are you selling? And they're like, oh, I haven't started selling yet. And I'm like, whoa, 6 events. There's one event a year. That's 6 years. You've been paying for these courses. You've been paying for this seminar. You've traveled to Las Vegas. You haven't even tried to launch a product. You haven't even done retail arbitrage. You haven't, so I think people need to, take a shot at it, budget something out, $1,000, $500, $100, whatever it is, and try it out. And they can decide if it's for them or not. It's not for everybody. It takes a certain level of discipline, and more than discipline, it takes a level of adapting and willing to adapt, because again, the platforms are constantly changing.
I love that. And I also appreciate that you are saying that, hey, take the money that you have. You don't have to, for example, because when we started with private label. Honestly, I didn't even know about the concept of I don't know, all the other business models that your guys now talking about, RA, OA, or it was like, what? Or KDP, or something like, what? Like, I'm coming from a totally different world, you know? And for me, it was like private label is the way, because that was my only way of knowing, you know? And that requires a lot of money, like upfront budget, you know? And most people are either not doing this because, as you were saying, they're like overcomplicating things, like I don't have it and I have to learn more and more and more and more until I am confident, you know. Either they don't think that they have the budget. When you were saying, hey, it's enough, just try, like go to the store, try retail advertise. It's working, great. It's not working, great. Do you love it? Not really. Does it make money? Yeah, okay. Do you want to go forward with it? You know, it's like, it's not necessarily, okay, this is my destiny, you know. Try and learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, retail arbitrage is how I started. I never took $1 out of my pocket. It was all on the credit card. Yeah. So my goal, right? You set goals for yourself. So my goal was making sure that I could pay back my credit card statement before it would roll over. So I would never leave any balance on there. I had to pay it in full in 30 days. And that was my simple goal. And something like that, yeah, I bought some items that never sold well, or I bought some items that ended up getting restricted, but that's how I learned.
Mm. Talking about goals, because I like that you mentioned something very simple. Most of the time what I see or what I feel or what I like people are doing is having these big goals and big dreams and big strategies. And I'm also one of those, like, if it's not perfect, it shouldn't be done, you know, and it's like a huge mistake, you know, learn from it. It shouldn't be done like that, right? So learn, okay, now it's something small. Like, what should a goal be in this scenario? What should be your first goal if you're starting out?
Being able to recover the money you just spent. That's simple. You set aside $200, make sure you make that $200 back. You don't even have to make a profit. Make the $200 back. So that might mean that you bought 3 items that you ended up having to gift or keep, or your kid took, or your wife took, or your husband took, or you know what I mean, or your partner took, whatever it may be. But I think a simple goal just like that, and that was mine. My goal was paying my credit card, not having any debt, not owing any money, not having to take anything out of the bank. Because keep in mind, I had just lost or left my 9 to 6. I had left that security. I had lost that security. So every dollar counted at that moment. And again, I had a family that relied and dependent on my income. And so I couldn't be selfish and create this false dream for myself, which wouldn't really work for me, or wouldn't help my family out in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. I have a feeling that the film is going to be way more often on the show than he intended to be. By the way, Marc is the film. This is how he is like handled, like on amazongroupchat.com if you're joining us on Telegram. So, and there you can say hello to him as well. All right. So now that we kind of talked or covered a lot of, like, I would say, like, best practices, let's go to what advice would you give to beginner sellers who are starting just right now? What to look for, and basically besides that, okay, just try.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a hard question, because I don't want somebody to take a pen and pencil to this and write down what I'm saying, because
everyone
again,
take a pen and pencil to this and write that exactly what Marc is saying. Yeah,
you know, there again. You have to be willing to try. You have to be willing to understand that you might lose. You know, it's in any sport. You let's say in baseball, you go up there knowing that you're not going to necessarily hit a home run. Yeah. And Michael Jordan, some of the best athletes talk about their failures they failed more than they won, but you only remember the wins. And so there really isn't any 1 or 2 things. I think most people need to first decide what they're looking for. Why are you listening to this podcast? Why are you listening to the Wizards podcast? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? How are you trying to improve yourself? Is it extra income that you're looking for? Because if you're looking for extra income, it's a different goal than if you're looking to leave your job. 2 separate goals. One's replacing your income. The other one's extra income, right? So if you want to take a trip a year, your goals and your work ethics towards Amazon are going to be completely different than somebody who's looking to leave their job because they're miserable. They can't stand their boss, or they can't stand the atmosphere that work is, and they want to do something for themselves. So I think first and foremost, people really have to decide or be real with themselves. So that's not something I can tell you, but be real with yourself. Decide what you really want to do. What are you trying to get out of all of this? And that's going to make it a lot clearer what the path and how what the best way of approaching that path or that goal is. There's 1,000 different paths that all get you to the same goal. Which one is the right one for you and your situation? Again, I have 3 kids. Somebody who doesn't have kids doesn't necessarily have that burden. Somebody who's not married doesn't have all that stress or that thought. So it's really,
I have a freaking cat.
To the person.
It's expensive. Even having a cat is expensive. So please don't nothing is free. Like really nothing is free. And if you want something from life, yeah, exactly as you were saying. So definitely. And I just cut you off. Please continue.
No, that was it. Really, I just hope that whoever's listening, and if they can get something, it's create a goal that's realistic for yourself. You don't have to compare yourself. You don't have to. Every single person in the Wizards of Amazon, or every single person in every course, every chat that you're involved in, every friend that you speak to, everybody has a different mindset. Everybody has a different goal in life. Yeah. We have one life. Make the most out of it, and be real to yourself. What's a realistic goal? Okay, you want to have a Bugatti? You want to have 4 Bugattis outside? Perfect. Put that on your wall. That's not a goal for right now. Your goal right now is making that extra money, leaving your job, one or the other. But if you are one of those people, so I mentioned earlier that I tried to invest into the business that I had been working with. At that time, it was like for 10 years. And they told me, we're not ready for that. Mm-hmm. And I took that as like a blow, if they're not ready now, they're never going to be ready. Right. That was like my mindset. And so I went home right away and I started doing something about it. I didn't leave that day. Right. So just be real with the situation. I set myself up. Every night I was working extra hours in the warehouse. I negotiated something with the owner where I could have a piece of the warehouse, have some inventory there. And I would just stay until 11, 12, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, whatever it was. And that's really how I was able to, in my situation with kids, with a wife, with a mortgage, and with everything else like that, I was able to comfortably find the right time to leave. But friends along the way were always like, man, you're pretty good at what you're doing. Why don't you leave your job? And I'd be like, yeah. You know what? I'm going to leave tomorrow. And a month later, we were having the same conversation. And a month later, we were having the same conversation again. I almost was so addicted to the income and to the comfort behind the income that I was scared and afraid to. But I can tell you one thing now, every day, and I don't have regrets. I don't necessarily believe in going backwards on that. But one thing I can be honest and real about is that had I started this 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, a whole nother league.
Yeah, I love that you said that, and it's cool that you were saying. It just reminded me about the heroine and the seller. A monthly salary are the most addictive things. Or I'm not sure who said that. I think Robert Kiyosaki or something like that. But it's true. It's really like that, and it's nice that you're also saying, hey, it also depends a lot of your circumstances, right? And what you want from your life, and how much do you want from your life. I thought, like, just giving you a short background story. For example, I grew up in a family where we didn't want much from life, we were happy with what we had, and we were happy with not much, and I realized, hey, I actually am not happy with this. I want more. I love expecting very expensive things as well, not milliards and so on, but something that is like 200, 300 or something like that, that previously I couldn't afford, because it was like, no, that's not for me, So I also think that it's very much dependent on which type of family that you came from, and as you were saying, hey, it can be the Bugatti. It's like, just realize that's the goal for my rich self or my wealthy self. It's not the goal for my security or comfortable level, e-com seller self. So it's still a goal. It's just like, not for now, because also what I notice, most people are like, they are being sold on the Lambo and all the like yachts and all the nice stuff, which is great. It's honestly great. If that's what you want from your life and that's what it makes you feel good about yourself, have it, but it's like, also it's unrealistic because that also requires a lot of upfront capital. And if you don't have it, it's like you cannot have those things, So as you are saying, just start with what you have and decide for yourself the goals that you want to go for and just get them. Did I answer that correctly?
Yeah, don't be fooled by, no, that's perfect. I mean, don't be fooled by what you see on Instagram or Facebook. You're going to see somebody sitting on a Lamborghini telling you that they have the course of the year. Look, go through it, feel it out. And yeah, circumstances are different, whether it's the family that we come from, how we were raised, the country we lived in, the country we grew up in, or what's going on in the world, right? So it changes every day. Right now is probably the best time, in my opinion, that somebody could leave their job, try Amazon out. And if it doesn't work, there's so many companies looking for employees that you'll have a job again in a month.
True.
You know what I mean? 2 months, 3 months. So the circumstances right now, people focus on the glass half empty. They're like, oh, but it's impossible to sell on Amazon, because they listen or they see a specific conversation. And that's what sometimes I try and squash out. Let's say in the Wizards of Amazon, somebody who's giving a suggestion or recommendation doesn't realize that there's a lot of people looking at this who haven't taken that step in, and you're scaring them away.
Yep.
It's not the situation. It's not the circumstance. You have to look at life, look at where we are today, look at where you are today as an individual, and make that best decision for you and for your family today on the circumstances that exist today. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today. So that's really the best advice I could really give anybody who's listening. And I really hope that, a year from now, I get a message like, hey, Marc, I listened to this podcast and I took this away from you. Because that's for me what at the end of the day is a win.
Yeah, definitely. See, and this is why you're on the podcast, to inspire and to motivate people to be just like you, or even more, or even better. Yeah.
Always be better than me.
Always that's the go-to. Always be better than someone that you are trying to model. That's definitely. Marc, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. So before we're wrapping up, I love to interrogate further my guests about a few things. One of them being like, first off, if you would have a superpower, which one would be it?
Cloning myself.
Ooh, all right. Really?
I always joke that if there were 3 of me, this business would be exploding.
I should definitely recommend you the movie series Loki from Marvel, where that's like variants, like the same Loki, but from different universes. Geeking out here, yes, but that's a really good one. All right, so what is your $50 or less investment you recently made to up your Amazon game?
To up my Amazon game. So I'm right now evaluating like what the best tool is. So it's not necessarily an investment, but that's where I am right now. I'm personally a big Helium 10 user. But to the point I made before, right? So I felt Helium 10 was the best tool, and I went forward and I started using it. I absolutely love it. Now I'm at a point where I'm scaling back, or I'm looking to see what other options exists, what can help me. But the best would probably be Splashtop. I recently joined Splashtop. Splashtop is it's a platform that allows you to access computers remotely. So it really helps me kind of be everywhere from just one place.
Similar to TeamViewer?
So I used to be a big TeamViewer guy, but as you may know, TeamViewer is expensive.
Yeah.
Splashtop is a fraction of that. And for like one of the most expensive tiers, you're paying $100 for a year. And that's like a monthly on TeamViewer at the same level.
Very neat. See, this is why I'm asking all my guests, like, how would I have known about this? So this is great. All right, thank you for sharing. So the third question I love to ask my guests is, what are your top 3 favorite books and why do you love them?
Like so last time you guys had me on, you kind of can tell that I'm not a big book reader. I'll be honest. I'm more of like a very short book. Who Moved My Cheese is a big one for me. The 1 Minute Manager is another one. I like books that get to the point. And I joked, and Carlos gave me a hard time about this. My mind does enough on its own to where I don't need a whole 300 pages to kind of lead me into like this tunnel.
Love it.
So if I can read it on an hour-and-a-half flight within 15, 20 minutes, that's my kind of book, or that's my article. I'm more of a short book or short novel or article reader personally.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, what for? It's like, yeah, that's the idea.
I know there's like a big, I know there's like a big book reader fanatic club behind all of this.
No,
I'm just not. Yeah, I'm not.
No, the only reason I'm asking why most of the time what I see is like, I love the answer what my guests are giving, because most of the time either they are in the bucket of like, I'm a like super book reader and I'm reading all these books and all these like mega books and so on. Either they're like you, like, okay, I'm not much a book reader, but then they're giving like 100 good ideas, like short books or so on. Or either they're like Audible type. I'm also Audible and podcast type. I'm not also much like for reader, although like there's a very like this stacking books there waiting for me to read. It's like, yes, it's going to be done soon.
I would highly recommend Who Moved My Cheese, especially to anybody who's working in a family business or is at a job where they've been there for a while. Who Moved My Cheese is a great book. It's actually a book that I've gifted many times, unknowing whether the person reads or doesn't read, because it's such a short book. It doesn't matter if they're a reader or not a reader. They're able to go through the book rather quickly. And it's a book I've been proud to kind of be able to gift away.
You just gave me a very brilliant inspiration. That's my next, like, I'm not going to ask the top 3 favorite books, but the top 3 books that you gifted most of the time. There you go. See, becoming already better. See, told you. All right. So as I was saying, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Anyway, how people can get a hold of you, say hello, get to know you more.
I'm readily available. You can, if you're in the Wizards of Amazon chats, I'm hashtag or at the firm. I'm in every chat. I'm in the Spanish chat. I'm fluent in Spanish. Entonces, si alguien necesita algo, a la orden.
Of course.
I'm in the English. I'm in the wholesale. They can find me on Facebook, Marc Furmanski. Yeah, or they can send me an email if they needed to. Marc, M-A-R-C, Furmanski, 3 separate words, just put together, Furmanski, F-U-R-M-A-N-S-K-I @gmail.com.
Brilliant. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for being so available. And as Marc was mentioning, he's talking about our Telegram group chats that you can join if you're not already a member by clicking on amazongroupchat.com. So that's how you can become a member there. And I'm also there. And yeah, it was, as I was saying, it was a pleasure. And I certainly hope that now you're going to be even more often on the show, because it's like tremendous value what you gave. And see, it doesn't have to be technical all the time. It just has to be like there, sit down, talk about business and talk about life, because that's what Amazon is. And that's what Econ Seller means. And that's what like we are. So definitely, I loved it. Thank you so much, Marc.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. And everyone listening, much love to you, and see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
It was fun sharing this episode with you. If you found value in what you've heard, please show your love with a subscribe, rate, and review of the show. Until next time.